All right, Professor, let me have you stand by. Josh Blakeman's a professor at South Texas College of Law who's been observing this. Professor, your view, an historic moment, can we get back to some sense of unity, or these divisions last? And what do you think the legacy of what we're witnessing right now on the floor of the House, what will that be?
This moment truly is historic. I don't know what the path ahead is for unity. Still, roughly half of Congress voted to reject the impeachment articles. This was a procedure that was hurried. There were no hearings. This was done in quite haste. I don't know that they can do a trial in one day in the Senate next week. I actually disagree with Professor Bobbitt. I think you can have a trial of a formerly impeached officer, but that's an issue of some debate. But even if a trial is held afterwards, it will be long and drawn out, and I think would very likely detract from the first 100 days of the Biden administration. Impeachment is a violent act. It's throwing a president out of office who was elected, and perhaps throwing the president out of office who just narrowly, well, they're not narrowly, but who just lost re-election with over 70 million votes. I don't see the path forward to reconciliation. It looks, the next few months look very bleak.
So when you say you think a trial may not be possible, I mean, there's no precedent for this, but clearly if someone has, according to the House, committed impeachable offenses, that basically then, in your sense, would be there'd be no punishment to Mr. Trump. He would still receive all of the duties and prerequisites that are due to a former president in terms of staffing and Secret Service protection. And, you know, would he get off scot-free?
Oh, no, I disagree with Professor Bobbitt. I think a former president who was impeached can be tried after his impeachment. I'll give you an example. Let's say there was a president who was impeached for committing some sort of crime, and he resigns to avoid an impeachment trial. I think you would still be able to hold a trial for the person and convict him. That way all the world would know that this person was convicted. Another possible approach is to disqualify from holding certain federal offices in the future. So there's a consequence of convicting him. It's not just to punish him, but also to disqualify him from holding any sort of types of appointed offices in the future.
That seems to be something that's been motivating Mitch McConnell. The reports say that he is, quote, done with Trump, that he's furious at him. And certainly Mr. McConnell, who's going from the majority to the minority leader once the Democrats take over, has his minds on what happens 2 years from now, trying to get that back. And he's been known as a strategist, and a very wise strategist as someone who can deal with the tactics. What do you think is going on in his mind? Because you need, what, only maybe 17 Republican senators to vote for conviction, and we're told that they don't all have to be in the room, or in other words, whoever's in the room is 2/3 of whoever's in the room, not 2/3 of 100. Can you expound on that a bit?
Well, I think there's an important point to keep in mind. There are a lot of Republican senators who want to run for president in 4 years. If Donald Trump is still in the picture, he's the front runner for the nomination. By convicting Trump, they're basically knocking him out of the possible race. So I think what ends up happening is a lot of the Republicans who maybe are thinking of a future for themselves will be more willing to reject Trump, which is why, again, impeachment is a very violent remedy. I'm not sure what the House's protocols will be. The Senate permitted remote voting for COVID, that is, people who are not there could vote by proxy. I'm not sure if the House can do that. If the Senate can do that. Each senator is considered a member of a jury. They're each jurors unto themselves. And I don't know that one senator could cast a vote for another senator. That's actually becomes very tricky.
Yeah, Professor Bobbitt, your sense on what do you think will happen once this gets to the Senate? Because it will be in the Senate, you know, next Tuesday and perhaps beyond. Can you lay this out? What do you see rolling out?
I just can't predict, but I do want to emphasize that you can't strip the power to prevent someone from holding future office from removal. The Constitution, again, the text is quite clear about this. The removal of a civil officer can then have in its wake the disability of not serving in future public office, but you can't strip that. That would amount to a bill of attainder. I'd be happy to discuss the reasons why this is so, but if the idea is that we have to jump over these clear texts just to get at Donald Trump or to get at someone who's committed a crime, they can always be tried for a criminal offense after they've left office. Impeachment is about the removal from office. It is not about punishment. We always have the option of indicting, prosecuting, and convicting a former president if he's committed crimes.
Let me interrupt you, Professor. I'm sorry. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has taken the podium. Let's listen.
No, can't go.
Well, I'm a little premature, Professor, in my cutting away. I apologize. Right you are. You talk about a former president potentially could always face criminal charges. Richard Nixon, of course, was pardoned by Gerald Ford. Didn't mean to interrupt you. We'll see what happens when the House Speaker starts talking. But continue your thought of what you see, what you see in the days or weeks or perhaps months ahead.
Well, I think we'll be revisiting these precedents, and the Nixon case is a particularly important one. Remember that a president may not pardon an impeachment, so that after Nixon had resigned, if the Congress...
Let's go to House Speaker Pelosi. I apologize. She is about to announce the vote.
Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. Congratulations. That's it. What now?
That's it. It's just being replaced again.
And now what?
Pro forma, you can see it seems pretty pro forma. You can see the result there: 221 Democrats, 197 Republicans, and 10 Republicans.
The chair announces that pursuant to Section 3A of House Resolution 41, the House Resolution 40 is hereby adopted.
Stop right here.
Stop after.
That's the official adoption of the House resolution.
The chair
that impeaches
announces
Donald
the Speaker's
John
appointment
Trump
pursuant
for
to
a
clause
second time.
11
It is
of Rule 10,
a somewhat of a
clause 11
bipartisan
of Rule
vote.
1,
10 Republicans, more than the first thought, supporting that. We're joined and continue with two professors, Professor Bobbitt, who was talking, and I interrupted too, and Professor Josh Blackman. Professor Bobbitt, go ahead. Your thoughts, as you said, of what you see in the next few months.
Well, I was just saying that we'll be looking closely at the Nixon precedent. There are earlier precedents in the Grant administration and the Adams administration that go in different directions, but as is the rule with precedent, the more recent case is the one that governs. In Nixon's case, he had been pardoned by Gerald Ford, but the president cannot pardon an impeachment. Therefore, even after the pardon, the Congress could have impeached Richard Nixon. He was not particularly popular in Washington after Watergate, but they didn't do so. And I believe the reason they did not do
Professor Blackman, let me have you say the last word on the historic nature of what we just saw.
House Resolution 8.
I think we should keep in mind that this impeachment is significant. The charge is actually that the president was not only committing a crime against the law, but committing a crime against the nation, democracy itself. And I think this impeachment is unlike any other since perhaps the Johnson impeachment in 1868.
All right, Professor, thanks so much to both of the professors on this historic moment we've been seeing this afternoon. President Trump impeached again. This article goes to the Senate, which will meet next Tuesday. We will find out what Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and the others do. The day before, former Vice President Joe Biden, the President-elect of the United States, is set to be inaugurated on next Wednesday as the 46th President of the United States.